Slide of NWABA logo. Universal Designs for Learning.
This video talks about the teaching method of universal design for learning. The universal design for learning, otherwise known as UDLs, are a framework for increasing the accessibility for all learners and providing different adaptations, modifications, and accommodations for all learners. We're going to be focusing on the UDLs for individuals who are blind or visually impaired. There are three main parts of the UDLs, including representation, action and expression, and engagement. We're going to be spending some time focusing on each of these three main areas. We're going to first talk about representation. For athletes with visual impairments, there are many different ways to provide for representation that will engage your learners with a visual impairment. One of these ways is creating a tactile diagram of a body movement. So when working with a learner, they have the opportunity to feel along the body outline as someone describes what the outline is and what different parts of the body are being represented, and learn more about what that body movement looks like so that they are able to mimic it.
Using an artist's figurine.
Another way is using an artist's figurine. It has different joints along all the human joints, and then you can have the athlete feel along the different parts of the artist's figurine. Other options for representation include using equipment that is audible, also using displays that are in large print or in braille, working with an athlete to talk about what is a color that they see best. You can also make equipment larger or slower moving to give the athlete more reaction time as they are learning. Another way for providing for different methods of representation as a student is learning is commenting on gameplay. They can have a peer who is also sitting out with them describing what's going on with the game. You can also have the instructor or the person who is demonstrating put high contrast tape along their body parts that are being highlighted in the skill so that when it's their turn to mimic those movements, they have a better background knowledge of what an overhand throw would look like. As you saw in our other videos, pre-teaching and teaching progressions are two other ways of implementing teaching methods that will provide for different options for representation.
Action and expression.
The second element of the universal design for learning is action and expression, and working with the athlete on what's the best way for them to express the skill so that they are doing it at a level that is the same or similar to their peers. Also working with the athlete on what is a good goal for them to do, that they are staying in that learning zone, that they can work hard to achieve that goal, but they are going to still be experiencing success on their way towards that goal. That goal may not look the exact same as every other peer in the class, but each peer in the class may have a different goal that is going to keep them challenged, but also experiencing success.
Video replay.
Taking a video of the athlete doing the skill, and then they're able to look at implementing that skill and see what they are doing correctly and what they need to work on. Small-sided games are fantastic because they increase the time on task for all learners in the classroom, whether they have a visual impairment or not. For athletes with visual impairments, small-sided games have less visual distraction that the athlete needs to focus on. Also working with athletes on what are specific skills and rules that they need to focus on in an activity. You can also modify the rules for an athlete who needs to focus on some more specific rules and not worry about every single rule in a skill, so that they're able to really learn a couple of the rules, the essential rules of a sport well, and then as they master those rules, add in additional rules as appropriate. Finally, having the athlete do fewer reps at a higher quality so that the athlete can focus on executing the skill really well and do the reps that they're currently able to, and then working up to the level of their peers and they have executed the skill well. And as they increase in proficiency in that skill, they can be working to the same level as their peers or a general expectation. These are all different ways for adapting, modifying, and accommodating different action and expression for different skills. You can also adapt and modify the different ways that the athlete is engaging in the skill, such as minimizing the distractions that they might have in the environment. In all things, we want to assume the capability of our athletes. Each of our athletes has the same right as their peers to try. They also have the same right as their peers to take risks. A lot of times we hear athletes are not able to participate in PE because someone doesn't want them to get hurt. In assuming capability, we want to work with athletes to be working on appropriate goal setting and making sure that those goals are challenging but still attainable, and giving the athlete the opportunity to measure their goals in a way that's accessible.
Appropriate adaptive equipment.
When working with the athlete with a visual impairment and determining what is the appropriate adaptive equipment for them, make sure that the athlete has a say in what they're using. Working with them on what is the specific color that works best for them. Would they prefer a bell ball or a beeping ball? These choices can be structured as appropriate for the athlete, whether it's they have a choice of 2 pieces of equipment or they have a choice of any piece of equipment.
Peer teaching.
Peer teaching is a great tool for engagement and extending your abilities as an instructor in the classroom. For peer mentoring, it is best if the student who is the mentor is a student who has recently mastered the skill and they are teaching it to the athlete who is a learner of that skill. A lot of times, even if you have a student who maybe struggles focusing in the classroom and now they're a peer mentor, they're now responsible for teaching the learner how to do the skill, and so now they feel a sense of responsibility, and that really helps them to increase their focus in the classroom. You as the instructor have huge power in assimilating the use of the adaptive equipment in your classroom. Having a positive attitude will assimilate the use of the adaptive equipment into your classroom. Finally, making sure that the feedback that you're giving the athlete is replicable will allow that student to grow most in doing the skill because they know what they've done right and they will know what they're expected to do next time. These are all different options for students with visual impairments in your classroom, and using the universal design for learning as a framework to make your teaching as accessible as possible for each of your athletes with visual impairments in your classroom.
For more, visit the Sports Adaptations page at www.nwaba.org. Thank you for watching. Slide of NWABA logo.